All right. Well, welcome to the second session. Let me see. I've got the first. I'm going to go through like the first five people on the schedule here, and if they're not here, we'll just move on to the next person. So we have Kaylin, Akansha, Selena, Christian, and Elizabeth. So, yeah. So, a couple things before we start, I wanted to mention. The first is that if you're presenting today, and once you present today, that's your that's all you need to do for the presentation part. Then the next step is to submit your actual paper. So you need to submit your paper to two places. You need to send it to my email address, uh, my Illinois email address in PDF form. So attach it as a PDF, and then submit it through GitHub in the template that we have. So if you go to your fork that you have, you refresh your fork, and you'll see final paper directory or final paper. I guess it's final paper. Go in there, and then there should be a template that you'll then populate with your own paper. So that's then issue a pull request, and that'll be it for the semester. So good luck with that. If people need to, I know if you're already here, it probably doesn't apply, but if people need to make up a session, we can do that. I don't know if you're in touch with some people who may have missed their session, or I can offer makeups until kind of like the end of finals week. I can schedule one-on-one or something like that. And so the paper itself is due by the end of finals week. So as long as you get it to me by that Friday, you know, and the reason I say, kind of at the end of finals week is because I need to turn in grades pretty soon after. So don't be late on that. So okay. So and then one more thing we have, and you may have received it in your email, a course evaluation. So those course evaluations are important for me to improve the course, to think about next term, things like that. So please fill that out when you get the message. It's from the university's. Can't remember what the division is, but you'll see in there something about course evaluation. So please fill those out. All right. So the first presenter today is Kaylin. Are you here, Kaylin?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, cool. So this is gonna be just kind of like an outline of my paper. My idea for the project is like a website where people can find and submit recipes for dishes from like endangered cultures and languages around the world. And so, what drives this project is just the ability to help raise awareness for various foods, cultural foods, and preserve food traditions, and hopefully creating like a community driven tool to do that. So my main audience would be contributors who are passionate about sharing endangered recipes, whether that comes from their own culture or a different one that they're really interested in. And then also individuals who would like to learn more about cultural foods, want to expand like their food palette and learn about different food traditions. And then along with that, some stakeholders of the project are obviously like the development team and then those users. Um, so the scope of this project, so the goal is to kind of create like a discovery page where users can find and discover new recipes, and then within that, a detailed recipe section where you can learn about like various preparation techniques, some rituals that are associated with this certain recipe, and then ingredient sourcing, to also have contributor and user profiles. And because this is heavily centered around different cultural traditions, also being able to implement like a multi-language translation feature to help users kind of communicate with each other. So I envisioned this project to use like GitHub for version control and code repository, because this is such a widely used platform, so having something that is intuitive and with people who are familiar with it. Um, and then also for documentation and to manage changes, and then have this code publicly available but have like limited access. Um, and so people can download this code and then, yeah, access it. So in terms of community, there would be like weekly meetings like within the team to discuss like project goals, milestones, and a roadmap. So just keeping each other updated, and then kind of like a community meeting to like discuss any roadblocks, um, and challenges that they're facing so that people can stay updated with what each other's doing, and kind of help with the efficiency of the project. And then in terms of like that external community, it would be nice to have kind of like global conferences with like food focused organizations, and food focused partnerships, to help kind of promote like learning about these global traditions, and then also virtual forums for recipe discussions. And then touching on sustainability, so how will we keep this project alive? So the goal is to use like an effective and easy programming language. Doing some research, I feel like Python is a really common one that people use. So that would, to kind of streamline that process, maybe use like, yeah, very easy programming language. Having maintainers to constantly review code and review code practices to make sure that we're staying updated and that there aren't any like outdated practices that are being employed to just kind of streamline that development process. And then lastly, potentially like a cybersecurity team to obviously prevent security breaches and ensure that everything is running smoothly. And yeah, that was kind of what I envisioned touching. Um, these are some of the points that I'll be talking about in my final paper. So yeah, thank you.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Kaylin. Do we have any questions on the project? Okay. Yeah, so I mean, with respect to version control, you can use GitHub, or might make sense to use another type of version control. It just depends on how much you want to invest in that thing. So there are other types of version control, but GitHub would be a very easy way to do it, sort of to start out, because the framework is all there. So, and yeah, but otherwise, yes, this is a great kind of framework for getting people engaged and getting something like this off the ground. So,
Well, thank
all
you.
right, yeah. So next is Akansha here. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I can present my screen real quick.
All right.
Mm, okay. All right. Are you guys able to see my screen all right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, okay, so my idea for my open source project was a polyglot forge revolutionizing language learning. So it's an open source learning ecosystem. So So I'll be talking about the importance of language proficiency and why Polyglot Forge, the key features, the community engagement aspect, further developments within this ecosystem, and the conclusion. Okay, so in our increasingly interconnected and globalized world, language proficiency holds paramount importance as a catalyst for effective communication, cultural understanding, and collaborative engagement. The ability to navigate linguistic diversity is not merely a desirable skill, but a fundamental necessity in various aspects of personal, academic, and professional life. So, Proficiency in multiple languages is a multifaceted asset, serving as the cornerstone of effective global communication and fostering meaningful connections across cultures and geographies. Beyond enhancing career opportunities by enabling international collaboration, language proficiency is pivotal for academic success in a globalized educational landscape. It contributes to the development of global citizens, promoting cross-cultural awareness and active engagement in global issues. In the business realm, language proficiency is essential for negotiations, partnerships, and gaining a competitive edge in diverse markets. And then beyond the practical advantages, language proficiency enriches individuals personally, providing access to literature, art, and cultural expressions in their authentic forms. So then, why Polyglot Forge? Well, Polyglot Forge stands as a revolutionary solution to the challenges inherent in traditional language learning methods. Conventional approaches often present rigid curricula, limited interactivity, high costs, and restricting learners' potential. In response, Polyglot Forge offers a flexible, adaptive, and cost effective open source platform. It emphasizes personalization, allowing users to tailor their language learning journey, promoting inclusivity by breaking financial barriers, and the platform introduces dynamic real world application features, fostering engagement and community collaboration. Okay. So here I'll just review the key features. First of all, this application boasts a robust set of key features designed to revolutionize language learning. The platform fosters a collaborative learning through real-time interaction and peer feedback, creating a supportive community. Its customizable learning modules offer an adaptive curriculum, and it overall allows users to tailor their language paths to individual preferences and proficiency language or proficiency levels, sorry. And then with the support for multiple languages and emphasis on interconnectedness, Polyglot Forge provides a comprehensive language review. Interactive exercises and simulations will offer practical applications, ensuring that users are engaged with the language skills in real world contexts. Progress tracking and analytics enable global setting and personalized learning strategies. And the most important feature of it all is that the integration of an open source community forums and crowdsourced content emphasizes collaboration and continuous improvement. Cross platform accessibility and an offline mode further enhance the platform's flexibility, making Polyglot Forge a versatile and user centric language learning toolkit. And then we'll now focus on the community engagement with this source. So this application actively encourages user participation through content creation and feedback mechanisms. Users play a pivotal role in enhancing the platform by developing exercises, sorry, sharing cultural insights, and contributing to the creation of new language modules. The platform also recognizes that the community is a valuable source of diverse content, so it fosters a sense of community through interactive forums as a space for discussions, problem solving, and resource sharing. The platform also goes beyond virtual spaces by organizing engaging events such as webinars and language exchange sessions. And in essence, overall, Polyglot Forge places a strong emphasis on user collaboration, valuing their contributions to create a rich and dynamic language learning environment. Okay, and then future developments in Polyglot Forge. So this application is set to enhance collaboration through virtual language exchange and group projects, promoting real-world application, teamwork, and deeper engagement in the language and learning process. The platform is dedicated to inclusivity by expanding its language repository to include less commonly taught languages with a user-suggested language feature, ensuring responsiveness to evolving community preferences. Advanced analytics features and predictive learning suggestions driven by machine learning algorithms empower users with deeper insights and personalized learning strategies. Looking to create immersive virtual environments, Polyglot Forge plans to introduce virtual language immersion and interactive storytelling modules. fostering practical application, cultural understanding, and dynamic personalized learning exercises. Um, and yeah, to conclude, in the realm of language learning, Polyglot Forge stands out as an innovative and inclusive beacon, emphasizing community centric learning, customization, and flexibility. The platform's commitment to open source ensures inclusivity by breaking financial barriers, making quality language education accessible worldwide, and beyond just theoretical knowledge, Polyglot Forge introduces interactive and practical learning experiences, fostering engagement beyond traditional methods. It represents more than a language learning tool, it's an ecosystem where proficiency becomes a shared achievement, bridging the gap between traditional methods and evolving needs of more modern learners. Thank you.
Thank you, Akansha. It's very good. So yeah, it looked like you had some great things there. I liked how you integrated a lot of different things into the talk. You integrated, virtual environments. I saw you integrated machine learning, and then of course the community engagement, which is the centerpiece. So I think that's important for like something like language learning, and then getting people to actually stick with it. So,
Mhm.
did we have any questions from the larger group? Okay, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. So next is Selena.
Hello, yeah. Let me share my screen
Hi.
really quick. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so my project was kind of inspired by that JSM debacle like that happened a couple weeks ago, which is led to my thought of creating a leasing company review platform. So it's essentially similar to Rate My Professor, which is you pick a leasing company and you provide your rating based on your experience. This would hopefully like enhance and promote safety on campus in general, since a lot of leasing companies have certain types of issues that people may not be comfortable with that have to do with safety. And it would be a great like learning tool for those who are first time tenants. And potentially people who are using this platform would offer a bunch of different reviews and insights and perspectives. And considering the number of leasing companies and newly constructed buildings, I think that would be very helpful. And it would be approved tenant experiences in terms of whether or not they're real to deter away from companies posting their own reviews. And hopefully the platform will also enhance customer awareness and confidence when they get their own lease. So a couple of features that I thought would be good on this platform would be user profiles. Considering some people may have a terrible or good experience with one leasing company, creating a profile would help compile all the reviews they have, whether or not they stay at one or go to multiple. And other people would be able to see their contribution history as well, just to see what exactly how they felt about their living experience on campuses specifically. And there would be a company listing, which would be a list of all the leasing companies available in the area, and then there would be a rating system using stars or numbers for users to assess different aspects of leasing companies, like customer service, working with the landlords, transparency, and just overall satisfaction. And then a comment section specifically for those who need, who don't have much to say, but then it's already there. So it'd be like somebody concurring or disagreeing with somebody's review. And then search and filters for those who are simply just looking on the site for a place to lease with. A couple more, some moderation and reporting. The moderation system would ensure the quality of the review, like I mentioned earlier, would deter from companies posting their own and not allow inappropriate content or reviews to be posted. And then responsive design, which is a more user-friendly user-friendly interface, which would hopefully be available on desktop and mobile. And then if other businesses or developers would like to access this application, I thought it would be a good idea to include an open data and API, because review data can be very important in certain industries, especially the housing industry. And then a community engagement feature where you can like upvote, downvote on reviews as well. And then analytics, just to understand what and which companies are doing better and why people think a company is doing better or worse than the other. And then privacy, which would protect user data and adhere to relevant regulations. Hopefully, the project would avoid any technical debt. So the idea of leasing company reviews hopefully would encourage more people to participate in this project, because it has to do with our day-to-day lives, and a lot of people experience housing issues, leasing issues, and so hopefully people would want to go on the back end and try to make this platform useful for those who want to use it. And then accessibility standards, in my experience, Rate My Professor sometimes has some issues in like speed or just like user interface or clarity in general. So hopefully that would be something that we'd also adhere to. And then cross-browser and device compatibility is the goal, including mobile and desktop would be very useful, just to offer different types of versions for people to use. And so hopefully the tools that we'd be able to use are for version control, we use Git. I decided to use GitHub for a lot of these because it's better, in my experience, to have a lot of these tools used in one place rather than going from one to another. So version control would be Git, and then issue tracking would also be GitHub issues. And then Asana, my personal favorite, because it's very useful and easy to learn once you get started, which I think is a great opportunity for those who would want to contribute to understand how Asana works in their future, and to use it in their future projects as well. And then documentation for user guides and developer documentation, API documentation, GitHub Wiki. Code review to make sure everything's up to date and up to code, and to track any changes. GitHub pull requests, and then Figma as a design tool, because I know many students in our class years around our age use Figma and are familiar with it. If you're not, then it's also another tool to understand and learn better for future experiences. And for analytics, for both for user analytics, I'd like to use Google Analytics, and project analytics would be GitHub as well. So for community development on this project, hopefully I'd be able to provide documentation and onboarding, especially for those who have never been part of a project like this. So it would be able to provide setup instructions and any guidelines needed and information about the project structure, and just create onboarding guides to make the entry smooth for people who want to join. Community forums for those who want to have conversation about how this project might be going, if they have any ideas or they just want to seek help on something they thought would be helpful to use. Yeah, and then for future requests and feedback, hopefully this would encourage users to add their own ideas and submit feature requests, as well as provide feedback to others, even if you don't know much about what may be going on. If you're a new user, then it would still be interesting to see what requests would be available for an app or a platform like this. And then collaborative decision making. This would just basically want to foster those who, one, have issues with housing, and two, want to understand how to make this tool better for those who want to use that. Hopefully that conversation would flow well in here, just on that similarity alone, as well as just trying to make this better in general. And hopefully this tool will be good to use in the community, and then maybe it will work outside of Champaign. Yeah, so that's all I got.
Thank you, Selena. Any questions from the rest of the group? Okay, yeah, that was very good. You did address technical debt, which I liked, so you hit some of the main points that we're looking for. Again, technical debt, you selected tools that you could use for different things. So I think, the appropriate tool for the appropriate thing. For example, if you want to do design, you have to pick a good tool for that. If you want to do project boards, you have to pick a good tool. And again, it's not always going to be the examples I showed in class. You just have to evaluate those things based on your project. So that was good. Yeah, and then some of the other things like feature requests and other things like that. That was very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Is Christian here?
Yeah,
There he is. All right, go ahead and present.
all right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So my project is called OpenGPT. It's an open source take on the new GPT, AI models that we've seen come out in the market recently. And OpenGPT, its purpose is to like counteract the privatization of AI and machine learning, and make it user friendly, community driven, and open to everybody. So, like I mentioned, AI has become a massive thing recently, especially in the last year. It's driven by machine learning language models, but it's been mostly driven by private companies, and this has like left the AI sector like really unopen to the public. The code is private, and the goal of OpenGPT is to democratize it. Um, and so, just a quick explanation of what GPT is. It's a generative pre-trained transformer, so machine learning. And so, background. This project is driven by three main components: artificial intelligence, open source ideology, and a GPT generative pre-training transformer, which is going to be driven by collaboration, transparency, and inclusivity in the open source community. So for the project scope, the first step is to create a GPT model that rivals private competitors, I guess you could say. Its second step is to emphasize on accessibility and community contributions. So make it truly open source and not have any hidden corners or things that people can contribute to. And I think this is great to democratize it and allow people to learn how these, big, amazing things that everybody uses now are made and how they work. And the third step is to have the model that uses natural language understanding. So this is more NLP, so it's more like of the technical side of things. Excuse me. So for user facing features, um, so the GPT model is a natural language processing model, which basically means like you input text and the model can like do whatever you want it to do. So chatbots, content generation, sentiment analysis, and I think one of the goals, even though it's like a big goal, would be to not just have a model that can do all these things. So like ChatGPT can only output text, and then there's like Dream AI or IO something like that generates like images, etc. So like the goal for this model would be like to generate all these different features in one GPT model. Um, Another feature is adaptability. So I think one of the beautiful things of open source is that everybody can contribute, and there's like a discussion and democracy to how the future of this model would like develop into and what open GPT would become. And then multi-language, I think one of the most important components of technology and AI is that it has to be open to everybody, not just people in like the Western world or America, like people all over the globe, so they can use this like program and like use it for their needs. As for the admin facing features, has security measures. The goal is to make it robust enough to withstand vulnerability or unauthorized access or attacks, cybersecurity components, and identify vulnerabilities, especially with AI, since it's driven by data. Like we want to make sure the data is secure and there's no leaks or anything wrong going on with that. As for the model training interface, we want it to be user friendly. ChatGPT is and all these different options out on the market are pretty user friendly, but we want to make this streamlined, easy to use. You just go to the website and just type in your needs and it'll output something. Um, and then monitoring tools, so admins can track model performance, identity bottlenecks, and receive alerts if anything goes wrong. So there's always constant surveillance on the program and its code, and if anything goes wrong, someone can like hop on instantly and address it. So for project constraints, one of the biggest ones is data privacy. And it's becoming more of a thing now since ChatGPT has become so big. There's legislation coming out all the time and constant discussion on what data privacy should look like. So I think one of the biggest things with this would be to be very aware of the regulations in place and to adhere to them and to be very cautious and be careful of people's privacy and where the data is coming from. Another constraint is computational resources. Running models like this is not cheap. It's super expensive, and beyond that, like it's very demanding in terms of computational power. That's only like why a few selective private companies are doing it because they have the resources to like host these services. And even when ChatGPT came out, like it was down all the time because like it was so overwhelmed by people using it. And then along the same like route is funding. Since computational resources are so like demanding and a lot of things that needed are scarce, funding is needed and it's very expensive, so that would be something we would have to figure out where to get funding from to keep this open source project going. So as for strategies, the first strategy is to leverage machine learning technologies like TensorFlow and PyTorch, which are like libraries on Python that machine learning are normally done with. It's basically the standard. Utilize distributed computer frameworks for efficient training. So this is getting the data in and getting it going. And then step 3 is facilitating and collaborating and facilitate collaboration and knowledge sharing through transparent communication channels. I think this is where the most important aspect of open source comes in, really having a discussion and letting people share their thoughts and see how things should go, make it more of a fun project instead of making it all about, making profit and growing a company. Step 4 is ensuring model accessibility to the community. So I think along these lines is having the community be able to see the code and how these things work, maybe not have access to and play around with it if they don't have the required skill, I guess you could say, the threshold, but still be able to look at it and copy the code or play around with it on their own machine, but not directly on the code that makes the program run. And then adopt open source licenses like MIT or Apache. So this is making it open to the public and getting it really fully running and open to everybody. So the big part of open source is community engagement. So on this side, it's like comprehensive documentation and tutorials for contributors and for people just starting off who want to learn how AI works and how these models come along and how they become something great. Having documentation for them and tutorials that they can follow along with and see how this project started from nothing and became something. I think one of the coolest things is periodic hackathons and events to encourage collaboration and innovation and get people really like excited to contribute to something, and establish a community to drive decision-making processes, having stakeholders who are really invested in the project and they want to make this work, and then really promote inclusivity and collective ownership. And this just means, like, to me, not having, a few select really smart people who know what they're doing, run everything, like having it open to people who maybe are just starting off or, their knowledge is still growing and having them, share their thoughts or, insights, which I'm sure that, something fruitful will come from there. As for future expansion plans, obviously continuous improvement on the model, any new state-of-the-art techniques that come out, implementing them and making it make the model work better, develop educational resources and partnerships, really making it a product that, like I said, it isn't a private company, but making it a product that everybody is aware of and is actually able to use, empower the world with AI skills and programming basically. As time passes, I think programming is becoming more and more of a necessity, and like even having a basic like surface level understanding of how it works is like necessary. And then seamless integration with other open source AI tools and platforms. Like I don't know, like having to be able to integrate with like Google and their whole like Google Suite programs. And so, in conclusion, for OpenGPT, we hope to redefine the landscape of language models through collaboration, transparency, and community-driven innovation, harness the collective expertise of diverse contributors, and create a GPT model that demonstrates the power of open collaboration to AI. And I really do believe the biggest thing is democratizing artificial intelligence to everybody and not making it this like exclusive private thing. So that's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Christian. That's very good. Do we have any questions from the group? Okay. Yeah, I had a few comments. Yeah, it was very good. One thing about the licensing, yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, and that's going to be an important aspect of this. You might consider some of the licenses specialized for generative AI, and that's kind of an open area because I think that's just kind of being established. So, that's something that you really have to kind of figure out which one is best, and that's tricky. I don't know if I could figure that out, but the other thing is the distribution. I like the whole democratization thing. So educating people is important, but there's also this issue of leveraging the resources that exist out in the larger community. So you have, of course, TensorFlow, which allows people to use an interface to build AI models. You can leverage that in different ways. And you can also leverage platforms like Hugging Face, which is a distribution platform where you can it's almost like a social media platform, but also you can distribute, your software, and you can, use some of their educational resources. So there are a lot of, there are new organizations forming all the time. So they can support some of this, and they have similar goals. You just have to kind of lean on them a little bit, or sometimes their resources are reusable, so you could just use them in your community. So that looks like a great project. I'd like to see that go forward.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. We have Elizabeth Tran.
All right, let me pull it up real quick. Are you able to see this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, give me a second. So let me move this back. Yeah. We good? Okay, perfect. So the platform that I thought about is called Free Finder, which is a platform to essentially just find things. So the issue that I really saw was that there was a lack of a really central hub for simplified locating of things like free events, food, public Wi-Fi, free parking, and of course, a lot of people go to like Google Maps and all of that for this kind of information because it allows you to see restaurants and places that offer you potentially access to bathrooms or any of the needs. But there isn't really an area I saw where it combined all of this, which I saw was something that would be really helpful on a college campus, a central area to kind of see events that are happening nearby or any of that as well. And then this was really inspired by Japan Official Travel App when I went to Japan, and how they had an app there for tourists who were in the area to kind of locate around them, maybe places that had offered help for them or places that had free Wi-Fi or public bathrooms or anything of the sort as well. So that was like an easier app, and it was easy to navigate as well. And so the purpose of this really, I intended it for the WHO to be a more universal design. So for instance, college students is the main one. I thought about campus and how there are a lot of events that happen around campus, as well as like areas that have maybe food pantries. And we really don't know that because it's not easily displayed anywhere. In a main area, you have to kind of really go searching for this kind of information. And so this really is supposed to be an open source platform that's designed to help locate free things, as mentioned before, like food, items, and events near them. And it is going to be done through a more community-based input kind of organization where it will be working with input that someone may put in who is part of an organization or something of the sort as well. And so features, of course, is like a map-based feature. So it's kind of working off of a GPS. This also works with user input. So an item and services that are nearby places provide. For instance, like if there's a restaurant nearby that has a deal on something and someone realizes that, they can put that into there as well. There's an event center, which is a community space to advertise events that are happening, whether it's from an RSO if you are on campus, or any other kind of organization in, I guess, like a more local town. And then a community forum, which is a special, separate space for contributors and those who want to get involved with this actual project itself. So some principles is that my overall goal is to design, of course, a platform that's optimized for community interaction and for the intended purpose of locating items. And so the another principle is a well-defined structure. So through the use of GitHub and other documentation tools and all that, we at the beginning is going to be, of course, planning what it's going to be like. So there has to be documentation of kind of the vision statement, and I'll talk about that more in a later slide. And then open source community building. I hope to kind of start out small. So building a smaller community, maybe through the use of Discord or finding people who want to contribute through, of course, Discord or GitHub, and then expand upon the idea of as the community grows as well. Also, we have to keep in mind budgeting. So budgeting for this one is understanding the current resources and expenses of the development. Since I'm starting off small, this kind of gives you a smaller group to have to work with, which then also means that the resources and expenses are not potentially too big. And then also timeline and milestones created with the community. So as we build the community, kind of as it expands and it grows into a one that is managing the project, then it's going to have a creation of the timelines and then milestones for actually what we're going to do. So the end deliverable for this really is to create a live website and a fully developed application, which is the Free Finder app. And then also my last principle will be clear guidelines for the community, users, and stakeholders. So having full transparency to build trust within the community with the stakeholders and even those who are participating in it, so they are aware of the milestones that are happening, what the updates are, and then what is currently happening with the situation, or what is currently happening with the development of the application, if there's any bugs that have to be fixed or any issues that need to be accountable or seen as well. There will be documentation throughout the entire process through, of course, usage of GitHub and other software as well. And then strong communication through various methods and tools provided to keep everyone on track, which will be mentioned later on as well. So for stages of development, really there are 3 main stages, which is initiating, planning, and executing. In initiating, I plan to have first research about the topics, seeing competitors, who the users are, and then what kind of initial developments we could build. The use of an open canvas as well, so that there's an idea of what the goals are, and then the guidelines in the community to kind of get us started with community building. Once we have the open canvas down, then community building will happen through, of course, GitHub, Discord, and then potentially even other social medias not mentioned, like Instagram or even maybe Twitter, to kind of build more of an awareness for the application. And so people who want to get involved can know how to get involved. But GitHub and Discord will be the main centers for people to gather and really take a look at what the project's about and get into it. And then planning, once the community has really been developed to a good stand where we have enough people, would be the kickoff meeting. So there will be a meeting to talk about everything that is happening and then how we're going to plan out the actual project itself. There's also roadmaps that will be created through the community for tasks and milestones. ZenHub is one main area that I'll be using for road mapping, which will provide me with an easier layout that people can follow to see what has to be done when and create progress for that one. And then moving on to executing, this will be done through a workflow map. So kind of breaking down through the roadmap is kind of seeing individual tasks and the layout of them and when they should be created. And the workflow map would differ depending on the group that is in the community itself. There will also be asynchronous coordination for an ability to allow more people to participate in this across a wider platform. So no matter where you're at, the time zone you're in, any of that, there will be tools needed for you to understand what is happening and for things to be followed. And this would be through the uses of Slack as well to help with that. And the other tools also mentioned prior. So this will allow for people to be able to work on it at any time that they can see and be up to date with everything that is happening through looking at the meetings that have been recorded or any documents that are talking about what the progress is about on what they're doing as well. And then I hope to use the Agile or the sorry, I can't say it, Agile method in this execution as well. So it is going to be a more circular, of course, method where there'll be plan and design, the development, the testing of it, and then the deploy and review. And it'll just keep working. So I hope to have the development of the tool be done in sprints so that it would be each side can work on what they have to work on, and then they can find design and then develop maybe a specific feature or a specific area of it, release it, get some feedback on that, and then continue with the overall, and then continue with the same plan as well and continue with it as well. So that's what I figured for the development platform. And then once it comes out, I continue to use the Agile methodology to continue using the Agile methodology to really perfect the tool and keep it up to date with the community that it is serving as well. And those were the presentation.
It's nice. Thank you, Liz. Do we have any questions from the larger group? Yeah, I like that you had a balanced, approach between like agile management, and then you're going to rely on some other things like building trust and working on documentation, and so you've got the balance there of different things. So it looks like an interesting project too. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So let's see. Next is Rosalind. Are you
Hi.
here, Rosalind? Hi.
Yeah.
Go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. Does this work?
Yes.
Okay. Oops. 1 second. Okay. So today I'll be giving the presentation on the project online learning platform. So I have this idea because I was using several like different online learning platforms, and I feel like nowadays technology is like playing over to like what we're having now. And so the purpose is to have the purpose of the open source is to create an online education platform that allows learners and educators to interact and also like share their resources or like courses, and also building a collaborative community. And the target audience of the platform would be all learners and in different age groups, and also community is also really important. So the platform aims to create a collaborative community where users can bring meaningful interactions. And I divided up the process into 4 phases, and the first one is foundations and development. And in this phase, we focus on building a solid foundations and develop a user-friendly interface for the diverse needs of our users. And the respiratory will include educational materials and serve as a way for the platform to grow and like adapt to the environment of the online education. And the second one is course diversification. So our focus is to like focus on the diversity of available resources out there, and we'll be like implementing multimedia elements such as videos or like virtual labs, and to like improve the overall experience of the users. And educators will be able to like upload or share their resources and like notes and supplements readings, not only with the learners but also with other educators. And the third one is customization and personalizations. So learners will have the flexibility to customize their educational journey by selecting like different courses and resources that aligns with their interest. So for example, instead of having like a set of 10 courses, like they could choose from a list of the courses and like which one interests them, and they could like pick them out. And by providing flexibility, we create an environment where both like learners and educators can learn in a way that's most meaningful to them. And the last one is community building and improvement. So we have features that help with community interact and engage. For example, discussion forums or like collaborative projects. And so we will also be gathering user feedbacks that provides insights into the platform's performance and also user experience. And for the security, user authentication and authorization systems will be pretty important in like controlling the access to the platform. And so by prioritizing data security and privacy, the platform would create a safe and secure learning environment for all the users. And to conclude, the open source platform we offers will have dynamic environment that integrate courses, resources, and most importantly, a collaborative community for both the learners and the educators. And we also aim to provide them with like a more flexible and personalized educational experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalind. That was good. Any questions from the rest of the group? Okay, so yeah, it was very good. You included a lot of themes from the class, and you brought that together in the platform. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Miranda. There we go.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen.
All right.
Sorry. Give me 1 second. Oh, hold on, not that. What is this? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So, the objective of my project is to build a productivity app to help keep track of daily tasks, and I'll go more into that in a little bit. So, the name of the app will be Propel, and I picked this name because it conveys like moving forward and making progress. So that's kind of the whole idea of this project. So to start off with like initial planning, my objective is to create a productivity application that helps manage daily tasks and keep users on track. And then kind of the scope of the project is to start with only allowing like one user to interact with their personal account, and then kind of create kind of their goal setting, their task management, and stuff like that. And then later on, push on newer versions to allow collaboration and have like a team aspect to the app. So, and then besides that, to start off with the initial planning, it's important to kind of see like what the industry is like. So see what other applications out there that are similar, and kind of conduct market research and analysis to see what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, and how we could, like as a company, how we could kind of stand out from the competitors. So some of the features that I want to have is to have an onboarding and to kind of see what usually users are trying to create with the app, or what are some of their goals and what they use the application for the most. And then have a task management where you can manage like your daily task or your overall task for the week or the month, or in general, just have task management. And then I want to create a goal setting aspect to kind of see if there's a certain goal a user wants to reach, and then how they can reach that through different tasks. So like either a professional goal or personal goal, and then to see how they're going to take steps to achieve that. And then a goal tracking is to kind of keep status of how much progress they've made with their goals. So it's important to kind of like organize and see what the tools are used for this project. So for project management, I was thinking of using Jira because it's a pretty like combines a lot of really good features that a lot of like project management tools use. So there's like Kanban boards, and then you can also like do sprint planning and have a backlog of tasks. So that's why I decided to pick Jira. And then for like research and insights, I chose Miro and FigJam as it's pretty easy to collaborate with others and kind of organize using sticky notes and stuff to organize insights and gather information, and for a lot of brainstorming. And then for documentation, I chose to use Storybook, GitHub, and Zeroheight as like for an app, like an application. Like Storybook and Zeroheight are pretty good for tracking, like helping designers and engineers kind of track like progress and documentation for certain designs. And then for design, I'm using Figma as it's like the like industry wise, it's pretty standard to use Figma for design. And then for communication, I was thinking of using Discord as it's easy to kind of keep the whole community updated by using like bots, and it's good for communication as you can provide like different channels, and there's a lot of different features that are on Discord. So that's why I chose Discord. And then for the design phase, I'll start off with like understanding the audience and see what the user will most commonly visit and use application and product for. So the audience would most likely be someone who has a lot on their plate and wants to just kind of keep their life more organized. And then after understanding the audience and doing some like preliminary user research, it's important to like kind of develop a brand vision and see what the vision and online presence and tone I want to set for the brand. And it's important. And then after that, kind of the more visual branding of like logos, colors, aesthetics, etc. And then moving on to the development phase, like choosing a technology stack is important. So like the front end, and then what to host it on, and like back end. And then after that, we set up a GitHub repository to create like documentation within the repository, and then set up version control for like debugging and like new features getting pushed out. And then also it's important to draft guidelines for different like contributors and the coding standards and how to submit pull requests. And then for the development phase, like developing the core features starting off would be like authentication, and then onboarding, and then like the task creation, task management kind of features are important, like are the core features to get set up. And then integration will be setting up testing and deployment processes. And then some of the future features, like I said, besides like a certain user's like profile on their board, features that I want to integrate are like collaboration, so allowing users to kind of share their goals and project boards with other users so they can contribute and collaborate. And then another aspect I want to introduce in the future will be like a leaderboard, so you can kind of see what your friends or your peers are doing and how what they're doing to reach their goals, or who's completing it faster. And then I also want to like be able to integrate it with other applications, so allow users to connect with other apps like Google Calendar, Notion, Canvas, etc., to be able to manage their tasks on that end as well. And that's it. Thank you.
It's great. Thank you. So do we have any questions from the larger group? Okay. Yeah, looks good. Everything looks good. I like that again. you stress the tool selection process. I think that's an important thing to have for a lot of projects, at least to have that plan and to say these are the tools that we would consider using. And then, if you can actually, when, one tool maybe doesn't work out, you can move to the next one and do that research in advance. And then thinking about all these different things like design and docs and communication, having that all up front is good too.
Oh, I actually think I skipped a slide where I had
Oh,
a short slide talking about community engagement, and it was just like going over like certain onboarding processes to like for guidelines for open source contributions, and then I also forgot to mention like in the same slide, to kind of create a good environment by using like again I said Discord, so yeah I forgot to mention those two aspects, but yeah.
okay. Well, yeah, I look forward to seeing your paper. So yeah, it sounds like you got that all worked out, at least
Thank
in theory. So good. Thank you.
you.
Uh, so, William Bechtel,
Yes. Hi
are
there.
you here?
Can you hear me?
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Let me share my screen.
Right. All right. I can see it.
Okay, so awesome. So the organization that I am hoping to launch is an open source effort to mobilize and understand younger voters and their trends. And the reason being is kind of in recent years, and as I kind of grew up, uh, me and my friends and people at school, we constantly hosted walkouts and things to stage our protest against what was being done politically, and little response was taken to those. And so now that a lot of younger voters, young millennials, and most of Gen Z are now becoming of voting age, getting up into their early 40s for millennials, and Gen Z is getting into their late 20s. It's time that their vote actually is becoming a lot more important. But I feel like it's been harder to consolidate and actually figure out what that collective voice truly is, as there's a lot of differing opinions. The overarching goals are to understand the trends of the group, but then to also encourage voting and encourage participation in the process, regardless of political affiliation or any of that. Just it's important to vote is kind of the idea. So there are some critical aspects, starting kind of an election focused, just kind of an election focused organization, and cover those in detail in the paper. But there's a few things to acknowledge kind of before that. One is that this organization has to have a focus on neutrality and inclusivity. It's important that all demographics be, able to be represented in the polls, and in the polls that we send out to people and that they fill out. We don't want to leave anyone out, essentially. But then also the aspect of neutrality. We don't want to bias in the way we frame questions or the way that questions are asked. There's kind of a trend with traditional polls and the way that they ask questions that leads the people getting polled to potentially sway in a certain direction. And then we kind of want to eliminate that. The other two essential things are the two people that would be needed to help. One would be kind of a lead activist, is what I like to call them. This is someone who's politically motivated, and cares about voting rights kind of as much as I do, having been an election worker a few times now. They'd be in charge of writing the polls, and they would help manage the social media campaigns and kind of spreading awareness about the group and our webpage. And yeah, they're necessary for starting this to help determine the scope, the scale, and then how we can organize, not only at the start for the initial kind of launch, but also then going forward, the framework for growing to a national scale. And the lead developer is exactly what it sounds like. This person, I need to help me program and build a good-looking website that's, a bit more complicated than just static imagery. I want there to be the ability for users to go look at it and look at their county or their state, and see in particular certain political races or certain questions that get asked in policy polls and things like that. And then they're also going to be in charge of on the back end, kind of setting up and managing the GitHub repository, where all of our documentation and essentially things are going to be launched from is GitHub. So the three main focuses of the paper that I kind of wrote about this is to outline a project scope that's realistic of an election-oriented group. And it's a bit tricky to do right now, given that we're kind of just starting to get into the swing of the election cycle already. So without some of the foundation in place, it's a bit tricky to be set up well for kind of immediate success in this next general election. But looking at the trends of growing popularity in young voters, I'm not worried about kind of having a lack of an audience of people who are interested in politics and interested in the election come summer and early fall when something like this could get off the ground. And then also thinking forward after the election, how are we going to address issues and things that come up, and then look forward to the next midterm election in 2026. Second aspect is building and managing that user base of pollable people. To start with, there were considerations about the security aspect of you don't want to be repeat polling people. You don't want people to misuse the system. Sorry. But from a logical standpoint, at least for the 24 election, that's not kind of the biggest issue. I don't want to make it too difficult of a barrier to entry for this poll to be taken and for people to be aware of our organization. We want them to develop a familiarity with our website and with taking our poll, hopefully repeatedly through a repeat polling process that we set up. And then the final aspect is ensuring that long-term project sustainability and project lifecycle, and that's pretty crucial going forward when we're looking to expand, but it's also important to do before we start because it'll only be easier if we understand where we want to go to then kind of set up our starting point for Illinois is the goal. So that priority for the 24 election is to have a working poll system for the state and federal seats being elected in Illinois. And I'm focusing on Illinois only because it's unrealistic to think any national scope could be achieved. It's a bit unrealistic to think a massive growth could be made in Illinois even, but given the network that I have of people that I've connected with through college here on campus, and some of my friends who have already graduated and they now live in Chicago, I think the ability to cast a wide net could be done in Illinois, but if I tried to stretch out beyond that, it would kind of wave us too thin, and so I don't think that would be very smart. Kind of the features that we would have for the website would be just the our standard polls that we have available to people, and then additionally we also have the results that get updated weekly, and this would include static pages or static graphics of the results, but there would also be places with interactive graphics that people can look at and go county by county to see different results, and different election seats at the state level that are just as important as the federal elections. And then the other aspect that's important to making this viable is the ease at which we can share it. I want to make sure that we have kind of easily formatted, exportable photos and images that people can, upload to stories on Instagram and Snapchat, and even places like Facebook, to spread awareness quickly, and a bit more rapidly than kind of traditional media or anything of that nature. And then for the 24 cycle, we'd be continuously working on the features and making sure that they work, but not trying to expand too far beyond that. We would wait till we can reassess how things went after the election to then begin expanding. Generating managing users is something that the lead activist and I would be primarily focused on, and our key asset is going to be social media, and so using Instagram and Snapchat, and having an Instagram page for our organization that we can upload, the weekly results, but then also upload different messages about registering to vote and deadlines about things like that, and those matters. But then the next thing that's important is also then we need feedback from our users, and we need to understand who wants to help as well, because some people will be as motivated as we are to get something like this off the ground. And so a feedback form on our webpage would allow us to hear from the community, and get the results we want. And we can further communicate from there if someone is looking to actually hop on board and join in a more full-time capacity. But otherwise, the biggest thing our users can do for us is just sharing further and spreading the links to these pages on their social media. And then the final thing is the organizational sustainability and life cycle. And so the goal after the 24 election is to have a solid network of people in Illinois, and hopefully a few others outside of and from other parts of the country, or who are willing to help broaden the horizon of this website and who it reaches out to and can pull from. Ideally, we would have a foundation and a framework set up from Illinois that we can easily expand to other states, and add on more without having to kind of redo any work. And really, the first states we would want to focus on, in my kind of opinion, and what I think is more critical to understanding elections, would be the swing states. So I wouldn't just immediately start going for like the biggest. I'm not going to go for California or Texas. Like those aren't the most important to start with. We'll get to those eventually, but I want to get to the ones like Iowa, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Colorado. Those are those are the states where young voters, as our demographic becomes a larger proportion of the voting population, our voice is going to matter more. And so having a good polling metric from there would be a lot more beneficial. And kind of the final thing is to just ensure that any features we implement or graphics we upload, especially the interactive ones, are tested thoroughly and work as intended. We don't want, if it doesn't work, it's really going to turn away users quickly. It's not the type of site or place that would normally grab attention, hold attention that well, and especially if it doesn't work, then that would not be good. And so making sure that we test these things out, and continue to update them with the additional results is important. And then part of understanding those issues, and not even necessarily the bug issues of the graphics didn't load or the web page didn't link properly, but even just the issues of hey, you said that I was supposed to be voting in this precinct, but actually I know that I vote in this one. Like even just those kinds of issues, we'll have a feedback form available at the bottom of our page to have people reach out to us and let us know about those things, so we can then readdress them. And so that's it. Thank you. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, William. Do we have any questions from the rest of the group? Yeah, it's so great. That's a great job. So I have a couple of comments. Like, so first of all, I noticed you're treating like kind of each election cycle as almost like a project version, and like the whole, your whole endeavor is kind of like having these project life cycles that you, because each election is different. You keep iterating on your platform. And then, you start in Illinois, which is good. You focus your efforts on one type of, project, I guess, and then you would fork your project to other states so you could modify it as you need. And so that's great. And then, you think about like some of the licensing issues that come up with that. If they're open source components, you would have a license. It probably wouldn't necessarily be good to have a standard open source license, however, because we have special needs here. It's not always going to be like software. The other thing I noticed is that we talked about, you said neutrality is important, and we talked about the Wikipedia neutral point of view, which is something Wikipedia uses, and that wouldn't necessarily be appropriate here, but having that strong governance and saying this is our sort of editorial stance, and it wouldn't be editorial in this case, but it would be like developing that set of rules that would say, okay, this is how we're going to do polling, or this is how we're going to do.
Yeah.
So,
You're right. It wouldn't really be neutrality, but more just making sure that there's just a lack of bias in kind of the messages and things that we publish. We don't want to persuade anyone anyway. So
community standards would be good for that. I think just saying that these are, when you create some sort of document or something, communication, these are the guidelines that we use, and templates would be good for that, or some other set of community standards. It's always a tough thing to kind of manage that, because of course when you have people coming in and wanting to do different things, you have to kind of maintain that set of standards. It's very hard to do a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So, yeah, no problem. So I look forward to seeing the paper on that. Okay. So we are now, Patrick Bruton, are you here? Patrick? I don't see Patrick. Well, we're quite ahead of schedule, actually. So if you look at the Excel sheet, you notice that like we're supposed to be at 4, and we're now at 3:20, which is good because we'll be here all day. But also that some people might not be here yet. So Patrick, we'll keep an eye on Patrick, see if he comes in. See, Danielle is here though, and she would be next on the list. So are you ready to go, Danielle?
Yeah, I can go.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, wait, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so for my project, I'm proposing an open source solution for combating food waste, which is a platform that I would plan to call Food Rescue. And then just some background information. Over the past summer, I studied abroad, and there was a really popular application there called Too Good To Go, which is a service that connects customers to restaurants and stores that have surplus unsold food. And then just like that, in combination with, I've worked at like a few different food service places here, and I do like recognize that there's an issue with like perfectly edible food being thrown out. So I thought this platform could be a good way to combat that. And then also just like a common misconception in a lot of like grocery stores is that the best buy dates like dictate the food's usability, when realistically it's just a guideline and it's actually perfectly legal to like sell that food. And then yeah, I also just the fact that this is like a college campus, I think it would be a really good opportunity to be able to still sell this food at like discounted rates, since so many college students are definitely on a budget when it comes to like groceries and stuff. Yeah, so basically the platform would be an open source platform that connects restaurants and grocery stores that experience overstocking and food waste to the local community. So both parties would be benefiting because the restaurants and grocery stores would be profiting through the food they were going to throw out anyways, and then the local community can be purchasing this food at like very discounted rates. And then just like some general features that I think the platform would have. So like recommendations based on like what you're looking for. So if you're looking for like produce or like a meal, like takeout, that would be a feature. And then also sorted by distance. So there would be like the GPS aspect where you could look at places that are nearby to you, a rating system to rate like the quality of the food this like location gives out, descriptions, like number of bags left. That was something that was like used on the app I used abroad, which is like obviously they're only gonna have so much food to like give out, so they'll tell you like how many bags are left like to give away, and then also a pickup time, since it's usually like towards the end of the day that like restaurants and grocery stores would be like getting rid of the surplus. And then just like this is a very general timeline, like for the project, I would want to first like make the platform itself and like hypothetically like what it would look like. And then from there, you would go to like recruiting people who want to participate, people who are interested in the app, grocery stores and restaurants that like would be interested in participating. And then from there, once the app is like up and running, just being able to continually make changes and improvements based on just like feedback. So I would definitely want to implement like discussion forums and just like have a very like obvious place where people can leave feedback and even make changes themselves. Yeah, so I would be planning on using open source. So in order to combat this issue, it's a very community-oriented project. So that's why I believe that an open source style management is best for the ethos of transparency, collaboration, and just doing community-based development. So by making the source code accessible, developers from around the area could contribute to the improvement and growth of the platform. And I think this can really lead to innovative features, bug fixes, and overall enhancements driven by a diverse group of contributors. And it also allows for easy customization for like any of the restaurants or stores that want to contribute. And then as for like the access and licenses, I plan on having all the code like being published to GitHub for public availability. And despite the public accessibility of the source code on GitHub, I intend to impose specific constraints to like safeguard the source code's integrity. And I would plan on strongly encouraging interested parties to download the source code and engage in like modification and experimentation with their individually acquired copies. So to prevent unwarranted alterations, I would permit only the downloadability of the code without the option for modification. And then I also think the MIT license is appropriate because of its permissive nature, and like that it would allow individuals to modify the code while concurrently offering a layer of defense against any like malicious or undesired utilization of the code. And then just for like long-term sustainability, there's definitely going to need to be a lot of continual work to remain like to keep the app updated and useful. I see that there's going to need to be a way to like confirm the legitimacy of like any of the restaurants and grocery stores that want to participate. So I think it's essential to validate the authenticity and accuracy of the postings. And as the platform gains more popularity, I think obviously assigning this task to one single person becomes impractical. So I think it's gonna have to kind of turn into like more of like a group effort of and I would implement an agile project workflow to entrust the responsibility to dedicated project members. And that's it.
Thank you, Danielle. Do we have any questions from anyone in the group, the larger group? Right. Yeah, that's great. You included a lot of things I think that needed to be there, especially principles from the course. I like the licensing aspect and thinking about that, and also thinking about the sustainability of the project. I think when you have something like this where you have like participants that have to sort of agree to participate, that's the key to the whole sustainability issue. You know, you need to develop these sort of community aspects, like you had a rating system and quality ratings and location, so making it easy for people to participate in the platform or provide information to the platform is, I think, key, and building that into the project is the way to go. You know, you don't want to rely on people to do things kind of on their own, because it will be standardized. And if there's a lot of friction, or like it just takes a lot of effort to do things, then people are less likely to use it. And so your use decreases, your participation decreases, and your no sustainability there. So that's good. Yeah. Okay, thank you again. Yeah. All right. Is Raihan here? Yes.
Yeah, I'm here with Letter.
All right. Would you like to present?
All right. I'll share my screen.
All right.
Give me a second. Right, can you see my presentation or not?
Yes.
So, good afternoon. So, for my final project, I decided to create a restaurant management platform, and okay, there we go. So the reason why is because my family back in Indonesia, we have a restaurant, and I thought to myself, well, in what way could I contribute to it? So why not create a restaurant managing platform? This way we could enhance the customer's experience. And the way we can do it is by creating a platform or application that could contain everything that customers need, like the menu. They could see like the appetizers, the main course, and everything, like calling the servers if they need any help, or even set up a reservation prior to them dining, and even create their payments. So the target audience will be the customers of the restaurant itself, the staff, while also managing all the orders and everything, and the management. So in order for this, we create a vision statement, which is to create a user-friendly restaurant menu app that simplifies the meal selection and enhances the customer's dining experience. And in order for us to carry on this vision statement, we have a project scope, which will be divided into 2 phases. So the first phase will be the initial launch of the platform, the application itself. which include all the necessities needed, which includes the menu page, the call server button, the payment page, the suggestions. That would be, I'll discuss later on in the slides, and as well as the reservation and everything. So in the second phase, it's the features that we will add later on, which are not necessarily needed, but could be needed for the customer's experience, which could include like promo page, review the food that they eat and everything. This could help with community building in the future. So for us to carry on that project scope, these are the three main principles that I would like to implement within the paper. First and foremost will be the roadmap. By having a roadmap, we can have a definitive timeline of when we want to launch the app, when will we develop it, when will we launch it, and what can we do for the future in order to be sustainable. And we also want to implement a workflow, so we can create an organizational structure for the steps for whatever person do in the roles. Not only this, we can also implement a workflow or the process flow for creating the UI UX design of the application, like starting from when they log into their accounts to ordering and looking at the menus and everything. Finally, the community building. For this, we would like to implement a suggestion box, like when a person finishes eating their food or ordering their menus, they could rate what their food was. Like, for instance, if you ordered a fried rice, maybe you could give a review on how many stars it will be, like 4 out of 5 stars, and you can add a review like, oh, the food was good, a little bit spicy, but it's okay. And then this would later then implement the reviews of the food itself for future diners. And not only that, we could also implement a suggestion box on how could the app be improved, like stating, could you add a promo page? Could you add a pickup page, maybe when they don't want to dine in, they want to order the food instead. So this could enhance their future experience. Other principles that needs to be considered includes user-centered design. Since we're creating a platform for the customers in the restaurant, we want to make this a design that could be easy to use for everyone and not make any confusions. So by implementing such as an FAQ tab, a user experience design that is like easy to navigate through. And we also like to implement a project board that we did in the quiz 2. By using this, we could know which stage are we on, which development procedures are being implemented right now, and what could be done in the future, and what's on hold. We also like to have a version control, considering that we're creating a platform for the customers. Of course, a version control for the code, like implementing a HTML page, or maybe creating a Python, which would be needed when to create the application itself. And we also want to create Figma. So having a version control that everyone has an idea of what has been done or what could be done in the future, this could be really beneficial. Another aspect that I would like to implement will be the project constraints or the issues. Considering this is a project that could be done by two designs, like a back end, front end, and the design, there's certainly going to be issues that we'll face later on. So having these project constraints figured out will be really beneficial. Last but not least is the conclusion. So by applying all the mentioned principles, this could potentially become an application that enhances the customer's dining experience within the restaurant, and while also being a sustainable platform for the restaurant in the long term. By implementing this suggestion box that I mentioned earlier, this could potentially help the customer's experience in the future, and also for the app in the long run. If the restaurant itself wants to have many more features, this could be sustainable in the future. So yeah, thank you. Any questions?
Any questions from the rest of the group? Okay. Thank you, Raihan. So yeah, I like that. That's good. I think one of the things about like a restaurant app, of course, is usability. So I'm glad you focused on that. And you had some nice diagrams to show like how you thought that out. And so are there like plans to have like a usability, like if other restaurants adopt this, would there be like some sort of usability thing that would be part of a community that you could, that other restaurants could consult, so they could say, well, this is the best way to handle this feature and this is the best way to handle that feature. If they wanted to add a feature, say, could they consult with a bunch of,
Oh,
usability people? Because, yeah,
yeah, I think we're gonna use like GitHub in terms of that, as well as Discord for communication building. Considering that Discord, well, a lot of people use Discord these days, and personally for me, having this, I have communicated with a lot of people using Discord throughout the semester itself, and it has been proven effective when creating and doing our projects. Other than that, I think using GitHub with all the forks and everything will make it easier for everyone to understand what is going on and what could be improved further on.
All right, that sounds great. Thank you, Raihan. I look forward to seeing your paper. All right, and moving along, we have Dylan is next. So you're ready to go, Dylan?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So my project's gonna be on an app called Sports Data Hub. Problem I'm trying to solve is sports analysts face challenges in accessing centralized platforms for collaboration and insights and sharing. The lack of dedicated spaces hinders effective collaboration and access to diverse data sets. Existing platforms often lack specialized tools and environments tailored for sports data analysis. Limited interaction spaces restrict the sharing of methodologies and findings among sports data analysts. And the absence of centralized repository affects the accessibility and availability of sports-related data sets for analysis. So I really like looking at data visualizations and making data visualizations about sports, and I always find them like scattered around on Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, but like I would really like if there was one place where people can make and share sports data visualizations and findings. So my vision for this is establish Sports Data Hub as a dedicated platform exclusively for sports data analysts and enthusiasts, foster a collaborative ecosystem where analysts can freely exchange insights, methodologies, and best practices, create a vibrant community-driven space for sports data analysis, encouraging innovation and knowledge sharing, provide a unified environment with specialized tools tailored to sports analytics needs, and empower analysts to access to diverse data sets, enabling comprehensive and in-depth sports-related analysis. So my goals for this app would be two main things: collaborative analysis and knowledge sharing. I want real-time collaboration among sports data analysts and joint analysis sessions for shared insights and discoveries. And I want people to share their methodologies to other users and encourage creation of educational resources and case studies. For the features, I'd like there to be a data repository, a centralized storage for a bunch of sports-related data sets that are categorized and tagged to help people like search around for data sets that they're trying to find for. And community interaction, I want discussion forums related to various sports analysis techniques and chat functionalities for real-time interaction and networking among analysts. For the open source principles of the app, we want transparency, so open meetings and discussions to share project progress and decisions openly, and public communication channels for transparent interactions, inclusivity, encouraging contributions from diverse backgrounds and skill sets, and upholding a code of conduct to ensure an inclusive and respectful community. Collaboration for utilizing open issue trackers and project boards for transparent collaboration. Encouraging peer reviews and contributions for continuous improvement and adaptability. Embracing iterative development methodologies for ongoing enhancements and providing comprehensive documentation for accessibility and adaptability. So for managing the Sports Data Hub, we want community-driven leadership. So it empowers the community elected leaders to guide different aspects of the platform and rotating leadership roles to ensure diverse perspectives and continuity. Empowering contributors, we want to encourage active participation and contribution from all users, and we want to recognize and promote contributors based on merit and involvement. And iterative development, we want agile methodologies to adapt and improve the platform based on community feedback, and continuous updates and enhancements guided by user input and collaboration. So in recap, Sports Data Hub I want to address the challenges faced by sports data analysts in accessing dedicated collaboration platforms. I want the platform's vision to focus on fostering a collaborative ecosystem for knowledge sharing, insights, and sports analytics. I want the goals to include facilitating collaborative analysis, knowledge sharing, and establishing a data repository and encouraging community interaction. And we want to embrace the open source principles of transparency, inclusivity, collaboration, and adaptability to create a dynamic and open environment. And it's going to be managed with community-driven leadership approach, empowering contributors and iterative development. And Sports Data Hub will revolutionize sports data analysis and insights among a vibrant community of analysts. That's it.
Right, thank you, Dylan. That's great. Yeah, I like your vision for the platform, and you've spent some time at the beginning as sort of assessing the niche that this would fit into, because there are a lot of different apps that you might have, or different platforms that kind of cover the same things. But it's important to kind of narrow down what you want out of your project before you begin, and sort of see where it fits into the world. So that's good. And then the iterative design aspect. So getting people involved in seeing what kinds of things are needed once you're off the ground, and moving that forward. So yeah, a lot of good stuff there. Thank you. All right, that's Dylan, and then our next. Let's see who we have. What about Taesak? Are you ready, Taesak?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. For me, I'm thinking of doing a predicting house price from an open source development model. So the problem that I want to address is real estate problem. I've been researching house price because of parents' chores, because they seem to struggle to decide whether it is a good time to buy or sell the house. And how can house price prediction machine learning model can help people as a open source model? So first, inform buying and selling decisions. Potential home buyers can use house price predictions to make an informed decision about when and where to buy properties. And then sellers can also benefit by pricing their homes compatibility based on market trends. And for financing, house price prediction can aid individual in financial planning. Knowing the potential future value of a property can help homeowners plan for future expenses, investment plans, and retirements. And for real estate investment, investor can use house price prediction to identify lucrative investment opportunities. Predicting the appreciation of property values can also help investor make a strategic decision about buying, holding, or selling real estate asset. And also the risk management. Financial institution and mortgage leaders can also use house price prediction to assess the risk associated with loans. This can also help markets inform decision about leading and managing the potential financial risk. Oh, for the goal and vision, my vision for the project is to build an accurate and predictive model and to apply this as a open source model so anyone can access it. This model can be a tool for anyone who struggles to decide to buy or sell the house. Not only that, by being an open source model, user can share the local information that only people would know by reporting and sharing the information. And furthermore, it can also help a real estate agent and consulting companies to convince the client when it comes to purchasing or selling the house. By showing this, it can also help prevent fraud by having a validation from agents and companies. My ultimate goal is to build a community around the model that I built and improve and grow. The community that I have to reach first is the government. By gathering the data set of the housing price from the government nationwide would have an accurate and legit machine learning model. After collaborating with a real estate agent and consulting companies, it can help grow the model faster and help have trust from the users. To do that, I will share and develop through the GitHub repository. This can help me to build a prototype and get a feedback during a pre-launch stage and even after the launch stage. Getting constructive feedback from the user matters for all. Feedback such as a request form and comment question Q&A would also be helpful. For the principle, I basically built a sustainable machine learning model. I think it's a first priority using a Python. I built a model using random forest with a TensorFlow, and it seems like it has a good RMSV for the data set. And the data preprocessing also needs to be done before building a model as well. Furthermore, not only random forest, but XG gradient boosting can also be used to compare the model RMSE and MSE. So I was thinking of how can I visualize the result for the user to read it easily. I came up with a dashboard where we have to build the data pipeline and visualize the statistic as you can see above. In order to do that, I decided to use the Metabase, which is an open source tool that allows for powerful data instrumentation, visualization, and querying. In order to update the data set that we are receiving, we also have to set up continuous integration to the data pipeline via one of the cloud service, which is I'm thinking of doing AWS. By setting up the continuous integration every time we update the data, it will immediately apply to the pipeline. So this is the overall technical side of how dashboard would work. I'll get the API from the dataset from the government house price prediction, and I'll basically extract the data using the data pipeline and transform these into visualization and load it into a cloud platform. As I mentioned during the process, we'll have to manage it via a continuous integration part to make a dataset live. After loading these database into a warehouse, it will go through the Metabase dashboard, and it will be similar to the dashboard that was provided from the last slide. So for the security and privacy, it should be tackled when it comes to working with the government. Having open source model and working with a government may be tricky, but by talking which data should be open to the public, it won't lead to a massive data leak from the model. By appropriately managing the permission by separating root users, which is having all the controls of the system for exclusive developers, and IAM users for people like junior developer will be important. Also user will have a less amount of controls compared to the other roles. Thank you.
Well, that was very good, Taysok. Thank you. And I really like that you did some demos in like in TensorFlow and that like just show or in Python, just showing how that can be implemented. I think that's great. And then you considered the API, so you had a lot of technical detail there.
Yes.
And then of course you applied the principles. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon, are you there?
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and present.
No. Yeah. Okay, so my idea for the final project is a project where house buyers can see real feedback about a community before they buy the house. So this is real estate, which is like an open source initiative. Pretty similar to the one before, but not exactly. So in this project, before buying a house, I want home buyers to be able to see the different factors that goes into the community as well. So we can get feedback from the already the people who are already living in the community about the noise levels, the age groups, and the people surrounding the community, the school district, and how that is, the renovation costs, regulations, factors like that. So the reason I chose this because there are some challenges when it comes to real estate. I think homeowners typically just look at the prices because that's what the agent tries to sell them. But I think they need some real opinions instead of real estate agents just trying to sell the house. So I think this is where the open source can come in. You can get some real feedback from the homeowners in that community about how the noise levels in the neighborhood, if there are any neighborhood events, how the traffic is in the neighborhood, stuff like that. And another challenge is that there are typically a lot of house owners typically do a lot of renovations as soon as they buy a house because they tend to have a lot of ideas of how they want to change the house. And I'm sure the previous owners would have also done the same thing. So a chat where maybe previous house owners can estimate the renovation cost based on the local rates and the renovation project, and let them know who to contact, how long it'll take, informations like that. And another challenge is that homeowners typically look at the house as it is, and don't um, they don't wouldn't know how to guess the problems that might surface as time goes, and these problems could be the previous homeowners, or the homeowners in the community who own the other houses, could possibly give feedback on what the problems might be before, so that the homeowner that wants to buy the house is well informed before buying the house itself. So the advantages of open source are you get real comments, renovation estimations, and the people who already do keep a tab on regulations in the houses nearby. So yeah, this project's vision is a collaborative platform for buyers, sellers, and renovators, so that home buyers can be encouraged to make a informed real estate decision. Now, some of the features in this project that I want to include is an interactive map, and this is kind of like Redfin or Zillow, where you see a map full of different prices, but the only difference is that you add a filter where you can look at the noise levels as the different communities, as you scroll through the different communities, if that matters to you, if the noise level matters to the homeowner or buyer. And another filter could be age levels or the cost of living, and all these filters can be changed or deleted or added based on feedback that we get from the website users. Another feature is a chat where maybe the homeowners in the neighborhood can comment about the neighborhood to the home buyers. And another feature is a renovation estimator, because people who just buy a house might not know who to contact, and other people may have already done it. So it would be useful to have that feature as well. And another one is regulation tracker. This is just to check if any renovation you want to do goes against any certain regulations. Some of the principles I've decided to, or like from the class that I've decided to include is community engagement. So based on the feedback that we get from the house owners, we can use that to kind of make, or the home buyers can make a decision about that based on the feedback they're already getting. Here they can share experiences and comment on the community. This is also like a user-driven development where it's open source, so the users' comments are valued and might help with the community improvements. And you get diverse perspectives on the community, which is not just an agent's perspective, but people who are living there's opinions about the community. And the way I want to include sustainability is in the website, just test for bugs regularly and constantly update the prices for the houses, and make sure all the comments about the community is regularly updated. And the contributors to this is the sellers of the house. They can edit the neighborhood events, noise levels, add renovation costs, update the property prices. And there are some restrictions on who to contribute to this. And it has to be a resident of the community and above 21 years old, just so we can keep it all. It can be accurate and not just anyone can add on to it. Some of the tools I plan on using is just the code, which is available on GitHub, and I plan on coding it in Python, HTML, CSS, whatever's needed for the website, JavaScript potentially, and possibly use Visual Studio to develop this website. I can test this on live servers, just the local servers that Visual Studio hosts, and then later on publish it. And for just the communications and just the documentations, I would use Jira and Confluence, and for communication with other team members, possibly Slack. And yeah, that's about it.
All right, that was good. Thank you for the presentation. I think you had covered a number of the relevant topics. You presented your tools. I don't know if I missed it, but did you think about a license for the open source aspect? Like, what kind of license do you think would be appropriate?
Oh, I have. No, you did not miss it. I don't think I thought about that yet. I will. Thank you. I will be looking for the final paper.
All right, yeah, and it's just a matter of kind of weighing the benefits. So it doesn't need to be like perfect, but just kind of what would be appropriate given your project.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you. All right, Patrick. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
All right. Would you like to present?
Yep. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Can you see all right?
Yes.
With that. All right. So mine open source project was going to be on an idea I had with a couple friends called Equal Rights. And starting off with Equal Rights, its purpose, it has four main purposes. Quality, so increasing the number of quality articles on various topics around the world. A lot of these topics too are very politically heavy or social justice heavy. And when it comes to seeing a lot of articles received just on a day-to-day basis, you notice it's a lot opinion heavy and not what is actually happening. Two is reach, so reaching relevant audiences that those would apply for. So I'll touch on it sooner than later, but I didn't want it to be just a USA based platform or West centric. There's a lot of things happening in the world that a lot of people don't know about. So just reaching relevant audiences when it comes to how things are impacting world politics and society. Three is building a network of contributing writers and editors, and also not even just writers and editors, but those who are consuming the articles and information we have. And four is educating, so creating educational resources on fair journalism practices. I think nowadays there's become a lot of barriers to entry to fair journalism, and people don't respect you if you don't have like, you know, a million degrees or a PhD in like a certain matter or field. But I think anyone could really be a anyone could be a journalist, you know, if you're just reporting on, you know, what's happening around you and your community in like a fair way that's also like you know, quality for like the readers at hand. And so why I think it's an important, you know, fair journalism is crucial into like combating widespread misinformation and disinformation, like in today's landscape. It's like, you know, even if we look at like today's landscape, I feel like a lot of people have started to like shift over from like, you know, mainstream news, such as like, you know, CNN, Fox, MSNBC. Those are just like some, and then like, you know, British broadcasting as well. So, you know, just providing an open source platform for like accurate balance and diverse perspectives, specifically on like social justice, equality, equity, and world problems. And these would just like, you know, help people make informed decisions on like, you know, how they participate within like the communities and like who they support and this matter. So the attended tools for use I want to use on, you know, equal rights. So I really like the structure of Stack Overflow and like how users on Stack Overflow will go with a question, you know, mainly code and show like, you know, the errors they were getting. But the specific feature on there is just like the response feature. So like combining that with how Wikipedia uses like their open source platform, where you see the article and you see the sources and that matter, but allowing for more community aspect where people are also like commenting under that article and utilizing an upvote matter for comments and concerns that gather like attraction to key points. I would like to do a lot of filtering by location for articles. It's really hard for, you know, someone in one area of the world to like get a good balance of quality information from like, you know, an area on the opposite hemisphere. So like utilizing that and like, you know, doing more like filtering tabs like, you know, throughout that. And then also just a private chat feature for users to be able to connect and talk about something. And that's just gonna help with like a lot of the community building in that regard. So I just like, you know, I'm like positive, you know, what both platforms look like, but just imagining like how we would have the filtering for like where this article falls in that I filter in the information. And then under that, just, you know, the community discussion. And this is where a lot of like the editing or like, you know, commenting on like what the article would be done, where it's like, you know, someone, you know, commented on like the Israel-Palestine conflict, but they left out like a crucial detail that, you know, hinders or helps either side. We'd be able to see that here. And then if it's really, you know, that major to the community discussion, like it would be able to upvote. So like more users will be able to reach that. And then other comments that are like not relevant or not necessarily good for, and that's like a spectrum, like that's hard, will be hard to judge, and that's like one of the problems that comes with like upvoting and downvoting. But like, you know, those in turn would be downvoted and then like not really shown. So for planning and like development, phase one would entwine that, like, so the M means month. I just couldn't type it all in the bubble, but month one was defining the scope. So this is the initial project goals, assembling an initial team, and establishing like communication and decision-making decisions. I didn't think about like necessarily, you know, what communication platform. There's a lot of great ones out there. You know, mainly I know Slack is used a lot, and so is Discord. And then moving on to like design. So this is designing and the interface and the core functionalities with legal frameworks. So I had like the initial idea here was to use Swift code just for like the quick mock-up on it. But obviously like when it comes to like actually designing the website and then like, you know, being able to edit and further update it, we'll probably have to use like, well, no, we would use like hard code, and that would just be with, you know, general languages that would apply for specific functionalities. Identity, building the brand identity, starting core marketing, and recruiting more initial contributors. So, you know, hopefully these initial contributors would be those who've like made impact within their own community already when it comes to their journalism efforts. Refining the initial feedback, pushing on big advertising, and really getting the equal rights out there, and then evaluating performance, you know, at the end of this phase. And then moving on to like growth and expansion. This is where I really want to increase the content and volume of articles and also make sure we're having a diverse amount of perspectives. So coming from whatever political, you know, realm you are like involved in or wherever you were located, whatever you like, would feel would need to be on this for like the general public. Moving on to partnerships, this is where partnerships and sustainable funding are really tricky and something that like it's hard to think about because at one point equal rights is I feel like would be built on such like moral and like on certain morals and ethics that you can't really partner with everyone who don't have those same morals because it hurts the community as a whole. But yeah, when it comes to like finding those out and then like getting sustainable funding, we see like with Wikipedia right now where you go to a Wikipedia article and they're asking for donations. So figuring out a sustainable funding model that won't necessarily rely on a lot of user donations because I feel as if most users of this platform would be those who don't like subscribe to like newsletters like the Wall Street Journal of like that matter because like it's just gotten more expensive over time to like even access platforms. And then evaluating at the end of phase 2 as well. So the evaluation is going to be after ending each phase, and then sustainability and impact. So securing a long-term funding and resource goal, establishing equal rights as a leading voice, continue expanding upon the platform, and like foster the thriving community. So really like with phase 3, like it's up and running. Users are doing it. Articles are being pushed out. Editing is being pushed out. And just like a general platform for the user by the user. And then yeah, so that's what I had for a presentation. But yeah, if there's any questions about what I had.
Yeah, I like that. That's very good. And I like that you had a very detailed roadmap. I think that was the key core thing that I think would drive the project forward. Just thinking about all those details, getting them laid out, and everything. And then you might consider having a license of some type, like a license for the open source components, and maybe some community standards or some sort of set of rules, like we talked about with Wikipedia, the neutral point of view. Not that you want to replicate that, but like something of that nature where if there are conflicts between editors or if there are people who are, commenting in ways that are detrimental to your goal, you can deal with those problems.
Yeah.
I had a
So
question about, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I had a question about one of the slides where you showed the demo.
Well, that was
did you?
just the
Yeah.
these screenshots from Wikipedia and Stack Overflow.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't really
So
get a good. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so the left is Wikipedia, the right is like, is that something you worked on, or is that just out of Stack Overflow? Oh, I
No, this
see. It
is
is.
out of Stack
Yeah.
Overflow. I did try to like design something on Figma, but like my Figma skills have not been
Oh,
great
yeah.
in a class in a while. But I just like the right is from like just one of the Stack Overflow home pages that had like some responses. So like it's not the initial post on here, but it is like the response post, and it's the guy at like telling how you can copy a file from a container, and like he showed the code, and like in my like world, like the code and the examples would be like either other articles or like they would quote apart from like let's say this Wikipedia article right here and put it right there, and then like add their own text and like edits from there.
Okay, that's good. You were going to say something before I
Yeah,
cut
so
you
like
off.
no, it's fine. I was saying like with licensing, like I do like want it to be like a free like resource like on there. Like you don't have to pay. At like I don't want any like pay barriers at all. Like even harmless pay barriers like subscriptions like to the source or anything. I mean that maybe that could be like another like sense of funding. Like you can subscribe to the source, but you wouldn't get any like benefits that make you better than the other user. And then what was the other? Oh yeah, so like I did have a question. So I feel like there's a really hard balance to find between knowing like community standards and then like infringing on someone like with their own like opposing ideal.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you like had any thoughts about that when I go like in the paper explaining that.
Yeah. So I mean, that is tough because people always, like we talked about with governance, people will interpret things a certain way. They'll say, well, this is biased towards me or biased towards someone else, or sometimes they'll say that you weren't upfront with them. So the best way to do that is to have the standards kind of upfront and transparent, and say
Right.
these are just the community standards that we use. Maybe even have like a people, when they join, they have to go through an onboarding process where you kind of lay out the details of how we govern our community. And that just is like, if you say, oh, I didn't know, or, it's biased against me, you kind of have agreed to this set of standards. And that's always a problem though, because even with like Wikipedia, there are all these wars about like, you've taken out my content, you're not putting in the content I want you to put in. And so it's not an easy thing to do. And you're just, I think, going to have conflicts about things because that's the way it is. And,
Yeah.
but, I think being transparent is the best way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
Alrighty. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. All right. Take care.
You as
Look
well.
forward to seeing the paper. Yeah.
Cooking on it. I'm making it right now. Well, I'm like halfway there and like typing it out. I have like a general outline right now. So.
Okay, good.
Hi.
Oh, hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
So are you ready to go?
Yeah, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So my proposal for, I guess, this project is a more interactive job board posting called Open Search. And just like sort of the purpose of this proposal is that it sort of creates like a more open source, transparent take on a job board, because a lot of the current job boards are very restrictive to both like on the employer side and the employee side. So this platform just sort of promotes like a more transparent, interactive platform, and that essentially is like decreasing the numbers game that a lot of job seekers experience while searching for employment. And then the audience for this platform is, so for a lot of current platforms, we either notice that they like either are explicitly, just for university students or grad students or more of like skilled professionals. So with this platform, we want to promote a platform for all types of audience, including university students and graduates, and then also skilled professionals. So everybody sort of has a space to interact and look for a potential job. And then, so the main purpose of this platform is to sort of reduce the struggle of searching for employment. So in our current job market, it's very competitive, and we notice a lot of the times that it's really hard to get our application and our resumes noticed by employers. And a lot of the times, employers are also struggling to find their specific candidate or their specific employee for their job posting or their company. And we noticed that with most listings, including internships and graduate roles and even senior level positions, it has become sort of like a number game during the initial application process. So a lot of the times, job seekers notice that, it's just like by luck if they get an application in during the first few like days or hours of the job posting. So with this tool, with this platform, we kind of want to reduce that like numbers game competition and make it more transparent and open in each specific job posting. So we want to create a more transparent and communicative platform for each side, so employers and job seekers. And the main struggle here is that there's a big gap between employers and job seekers. As many times it is, just as much of a struggle, as I mentioned, for employers to find the right candidates. And so as we can see with current job platforms, the main problem that we see is, for example, if you look at this LinkedIn job platform, we see that it's very restrictive on the job seeker side. So the employer is able to post their job posting, and we are given these minimal like skills and qualifications that they're looking for, but we're not really able to interact with the recruiter or really find a match for if our skills in our application is ideal for that listing. And we also see similar issues with Indeed and Handshake. And although Handshake is more interactive for students and employers, it's still limited because these job listings also, you're not really able to tell to what extent, a company is hiring or a listing is looking for, and we're not really able to see when it was posted or how many applicants they are. And if our, I guess, essentially, if our application is really standing out or is really being noticed by these listings or recruiters. So the platform will be an open source take to a typical job board platform, which allows for a more interactive and transparent experience. So it's more interactive not only for viewers and users, but it's also more interactive for employers. So they're able to, similar to current platforms like Handshake, they're able to interact with potential job seekers and candidates that fit the ideal job listing or their company. And then it also includes interactive features such as the chat box and employee reviews. So, in like job seekers are able to interact in those ways, and then employers can also, go back and forth. And if they find an ideal candidate based on skills, and they're able to go back and forth and sort of talk to them about that potential job seeking. And then additional features such as application limits, detailed and specific skill requirements will be included. So a lot of the times with the current job platforms that we see is that we're not really able to see if a specific job listing has an application limit or any specific skills that are really required. So a lot of the times we see that viewers are sort of just mass applying to job listings and aren't really matching their skills to the job listing. And with this, we want to reduce that struggle and that barrier between employers and employees. So essentially, the employer will only really be able to notice a candidate if they meet specific skill requirements outside of just like basic standard requirements. And then it also allows for employers to communicate what they're looking for. So I want to create sort of like a chatbot experience, but it should be able to be like with the job listing. So it's not just like a general, oh, we're interested in you or we're interested in your platform. It's more like we're interested in you for this specific role. And this is ... why you would meet our like job listing. So I'm going to sort of move on to a more breakdown of what I want the platform to look like and some like requirements for the platform. So to begin, employers can post job listings and restrict posts to whatever degree they want. So although this is an open source platform, obviously employers need to have like some sort of restrictions for what they want their job listing to sort of show on the viewer side, and obviously like all the other technical like requirements for their own company and anything related to that. And then similar to existing platforms, employers can communicate and interact with potential job seekers, creating a more collaborative community. So instead of it being a more, restrictive and I would say like in some ways hostile like job platform, it's going to be more collaborative and essentially more transparent. So if a job seeker is looking for a specific job listing and they see that it's close to them or they don't like meet those specific qualifications, it will state that and they will be able to, find something that fits their skill set more. And then viewers can interact with companies, recruiters, and postings more openly if they're qualified under the employer's terms. So as I just mentioned, like instead of anybody being applied to essentially any job listing they want, it's going to be more restrictive to what job listings are being promoted to them and then what type of recruiters are reaching out to them. And like finding a more specific listing and job to like for that specific job seeker. And then the platform will have more specific requirements for what will be transparent on the viewer's end, such as like application numbers and an application limit. So a lot of the times, one of the biggest struggles is that job listings are very like open-ended to the point where there are like thousands and thousands of job applications per listing, and it sort of becomes a hassle for even the employer to find a candidate that they're looking for, because a lot of the times half the applicants are not even qualified or not even the ones that they are looking for. So this will sort of like reduce that struggle for both the employers and job seeker side. And then the job postings will only take applications from applicants who meet specific skill requirements. So again, as I mentioned, like a lot of times people are just applying to jobs that they're not even qualified for, or they might not even fit the role for. And then employers are like struggling with these thousands and thousands of applicants, and they can't even sift like through who they really find valuable and who they really would find fit for the role. So this is going to reduce that. And then for licensing, this platform will be interactive yet restricted to a certain capacity on the employer side, because as I mentioned, obviously there's like more technical and like restrictions that each company needs, and which will be monitored like through each employer individually. And then for the general platform, I'm thinking that we're thinking that the MIT license for the general application would be more useful, because although it is like very open-ended and interactive, you know, there's also those like specific restrictions for just to maintain like making sure that nothing is, I guess, like no malware and nobody's like using the platform for any like negative uses. And then employers will need to have their own restrictions for their listing and interactivity. And so as each employer will have their own specific, you know, restrictions for their company, for each job listing, they're also able to sort of also able to like put forth like how much of it they want it to be interactive and how much they sort of want to keep it restricted. So on top of just like the platform restrictions, such as like who is able to apply or view that job listing, it is also going to be restricted on the employer side by how much they want it to be interactive, such as like if they want the recruiters to be like actively looking for a job posting, or if they want it to be more like restrictive to a certain population or a certain audience. And then these are the citations I used for the presentation.
Very good. So I'm glad you covered licensing, and you covered some of the sort of the problem domain and how to situate the project. And you kind of touched on your community. So I assume this is open source. So, you know, so your community is job seekers. Am I correct? Or is
Yeah,
it?
so my community is job seekers, but it's also like the employers, because they're able to interact with the job seekers as much as the job seekers are able to interact with employers.
Okay. And so you want to be able to differentiate in your community between job seekers and employers.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
make
So
sure
just
that,
like
yeah.
Yeah, so just like modern or like current job board applications like Handshake, LinkedIn, there is going to be, you know, like a database where employers are listed as like specifically like this is like a company or like this is an employer, but it's like more interactive in a way where in a job listing and like in like a specific database for certain audiences, they are able to like as I mentioned, like chat boxes and things like that, like be more interactive with what audience they're looking for and like which job seekers they're trying to find, instead of it just being like a job posting that's posted and then people are just applying, like mass applying, and it's sort of like more restrictive and not as like collaborative.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's very good. Yeah, thank you. I look forward to seeing your paper.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.